Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of History Buff 41. Today we're taking a look at the M1 rifle sling. Now, first off, we should make a distinction here. During World War II and kind of that era, there were a lot of things named the M1. We had the M1 rifle, the M1 carbine, the M1 bayonet for the M1 rifle, the M1 helmet, and a few other things that were also M1 that are probably escaping me at the moment. So just because something is listed as M1, it does not automatically mean that it is destined or it is designed to go to the M1 Garand or the M1 Carbine, because as we'll go ahead and get into, these M1 rifle slings would not work on the M1 Carbine. The M1 Carbine took a different design. These instead were designed to work with the M1 rifle, the model 1903, the model 1917, and then after the war and after the M1s kind of phase out, work with the M14, and I believe it was also made to work with the M16. So we're looking here at these three slings. At the top is from World War II. In the middle is post-war kind of Korean era, and then at the bottom is late war. And these were meant to replace, the M1 rifle sling was meant to replace the heavier leather model 1907 rifle sling. The model 1907, with it being leather, it was prone to deterioration, much like you would see with the leather handles on, say, the M4 carbine, M4 bayonet for the M1 carbine, or the scabbard for the M3, the original leather scabbards for the M3 fighting knife used by the United States. And the M1907, the leather scabbard, was also very heavy and complicated to make. For one thing, being leather, it required the use of livestock. And so when they needed to come up with something, the military did, that was easier to use and that was lighter weight and not as complicated. So slings have a couple of different purposes on firearms. The first, obviously, is to be able to carry a firearm and leave your hands free, your hands empty. You sling your rifle over your shoulder, and you have your hands free to carry maybe a machine gun, maybe some ammunition, a litter, hack through brush, whatever the case may be. And the other thing is there are various holds that you can use to give yourself a steadier platform to shoot from and thus increase accuracy, and we won't get into those today. So the military over in the interwar years, they made a couple of, and actually toward the end of World War I, made a couple of attempts to replace the 1907 with a cloth string, but it never really materialized until the M1 in about 1942 or 3. So as you can see, they're all very similar. So you have to kind of look for certain design features to be able to distinguish between the World War II era ones, the later kind of Korean War era ones, and the even later, more Vietnam era war ones. So let's go ahead. I'm going to bring this down some, and we'll take a look first off at the one from World War II. So here it is. Sometimes on these you see a maker's mark. On this one, I haven't been able to find one. Well, actually, I take that back. There is one right here. We see SW Co. Or I'm sorry, SM Co. And then you see a date. Looks like 1940 something. 44 maybe. Kind of hard to read because it's kind of bled through. So that's obviously one obvious tell there, is if it's dated with a year. But the other here, we run along here, this is the clasp. And with the World War II dated ones, these here are flat. And as you'll see in a minute, the later ones, there's a little bubble there. And then if you look at here along on the threads, well, I'll just go ahead and grab this. This is the more Korean War era one. And you hold them side by side. This World War II, and you can see it's a little, the weave is a little finer to the later one. And then we'll come over here to Where'd that clasp go? To the clasp on this one. And you can see there's kind of a bubble there, or a little bump, or whatever you want to say. And also it's a little darker. This one here had some sort of probably bluing on it that has worn off in the last 80 plus years. This here is more of a parkerized finished. And you can see as well, bringing them back together again, this one here is a little darker in green, shading green, more the 1956 pattern, whereas this is something more, closer to the World War II, well, obviously, the World War II shade. So if we take a look at this also, and you see here, we got this here's, more or less the same, maybe a little heavier, slightly larger metal. And we look at the hooks here side by side. Yeah, again, this one's, I'm not sure if that's actually bluing or if it's been painted. It might be a bluing issue. Whereas this one here is parkerized. And the same here, pretty much with the ends. You can see, yeah, this is kind of a black painted end. And this one here, it's been painted black too, but it's a little different shade, a little different design. Something else that you'll see, and you'll see this on the World War II ones, you'll see it on the post-World War II ones. You see this MRT here, and then there's underneath of it, you can't see real well, but it looks like it maybe says June or January of 1954. And so what this is a treatment, mildew resistance treatment, that the military applied to rifle slings to obviously prevent them from mildewing, whether in storage or out in the field in a wet environment. And you'll see World War II slings like this with this stamp on it. And then you'll see ones that aren't World War II slings that have been stamped like it, like this one is. And then we'll take a look. And I know I have seen some of these new in packages dated 1969. So you're looking at late 60s. This is more of a nylon material. And again, you can see, honestly, it looks more like a seat belt as opposed to this kind of Korean War era M1 sling with the heavier canvas type cloth in there. Couldn't find an MRT or a maker's mark. And they're kind of more a lighter gray kind of chemical treatment on the metal here. Look here at the ends. Yeah, that almost looks like a darkened brass. And this here is some sort of a steel, what have you. But yeah, these were like late 60s, early 70s. So let's talk about for a moment the firearms that you'd expect these to be on. So with this M1, it would definitely be appropriate to see on a Grand or a Springfield or any of your World War II era guns, or even the later M14s or maybe even the M16s. With this Korean War one, again, you could expect to see it on any of the World War II guns, or the kind of the M14s, or again maybe the M16s. Wouldn't necessarily expect to see it on, say, I don't know, M4 carbine or something of that nature. But then this one here, with it being different materials and a later design, later manufacturing, really would not expect it to see on a World War II firearm. I would expect to see it more M14s, or the civilian variant, the M1A, or a M16 type of rifle. I would expect it to be more appropriate in a Vietnam era reenactment, display, living history sort of environment collection than I would World War II or Korean War display. So that's a brief primer here on M1 rifle slings. Hope you all enjoyed it. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and please be sure to like, share, and subscribe.